The Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie."
Fans were yelling for the referees to do something when Caitlin Clark was being hacked left and right during a game, and Sophie Cunningham recognized the task.
Sheldon going coast to coast, and here we got another.
In an instant that has now gone viral, in addition to sending JCS Sheldon a message, Sophie Cunningham, she sent the Connecticut Sun more than just a message. She messaged the WNBA as a whole. Be careful around Caitlin Clark.
Teams are going to have to think twice about messing with Caitlin Clark again.
Fans are furiously upset with Caitlin Clark's attack on the court, but they finally get what they have been pleading for: an enforcer, a protector, someone who isn't hesitant to intervene and deliver a message. A star was birthed from the ashes of an officiating dump. Sophie didn't simply stand up for her buddy in that one time. She ignited the spark that had the potential to completely alter the mood of the Fever season. Although it may seem premature to say this, Sophie recently rose to prominence in the sports industry.
They didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boom! Wow.
The effects are already being felt. After that game, Sophie's name became viral in less than 48 hours. The videos have gone viral, supporters are enraged, and the atmosphere has shifted since this is no anymore the league versus the Fever. Caitlin is up against the world. Additionally, Sophie has emerged as her unquestioned bodyguard. The crazy part is that Sophie could win millions of dollars in that one moment. No hyperbole, the indicators are already there. Before we begin, let's watch this video, please. Leave a boxing glove in the comments if you were grateful for Sophie's initiative. Additionally, subscribe for more WNBA news.
When they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates' backs.
Unquestionably, the Fever's matchup with the Sun marked a new low for the WNBA. The complaints regarding the officiating have persisted for ages. Recently, Kelsey Plum broke down in tears as she described how she prays for things to improve. However, the incident against the Sun made it quite evident that Caitlin Clark's season is open, and the referees will not take any action.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabry, I missed that one, Idona.
The literal face of the league was targeted by JCS Sheldon, and in the ensuing chaos, Marina Mabry body-checked Caitlin to the court. It appeared as though Dane Carrington and Kennedy Carter had somehow re-entered the game as a tag team, and the other play angles made it abundantly evident that the incident was even more heinous than it appeared in real time.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
GC's swipe wasn't merely thoughtless. Marina did more than simply bump into Caitlin. It was targeted. She sent a flying message. In the NBA, this kind of behavior would be immediately highlighted, but in the W, it seems like it's just another Tuesday. And I must admit that it was a little underwhelming. Fans were pleading for Lexi to go all out, but even though she got in JC's face a little, there wasn't much pushback from the Fever on the court, particularly from Stephanie White. Now, she fully made amends in the press conference. Given that Bobby Knight coached Indiana, it would have been an amazing sight to see him throw a chair. And just quit talking about Caitlin's softness before anyone else does.
It made me think if this was LeBron in the NBA, think if this was Steph Curry in the NBA, do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron the way that Caitlin was chucked to the ground? Do you think if another player came up, blindsided LeBron, chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah, technicals, nobody's ejected. Just a common technical foul. That would never happen. It would never happen.
Steph or LeBron could not possibly experience this without repercussions. The fact that Marino wasn't thrown for the body check astounded the commentators. The kicker is this: at the moment, Caitlin Clark is far more significant to the WNBA than LeBron or Steph are to the NBA. It isn't a hot take. That is simply the truth. When Caitlin missed 5 games, we witnessed what transpired.
Even as good as that rating was, Caitlin Clark's good for about 1 million extra viewers.
Not only did ratings decline, they plummeted. Over 50% fewer Fever games were played. Interest fell across the league. One would expect a league-wide directive. Apply the bubble wrap therapy to Caitlin. The star calls complete real protection. Thus, it wasn't merely a poor missed call. The WNBA's most valued superstar was treated in an insane manner. And now everyone is criticizing the referees, fans, experts, and even past players. It goes beyond simply missing calls. It concerns disrespect at the league level.
And I mean, when I tell you social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way, that's the understatement.
Nevertheless, something was still lacking even though the Fever were leading by a wide margin and winning easily, and Caitlin had already provided the Knights' high point with that incredible three-pointer and icy trash talk to the Suns bench. It didn't seem to be done. It didn't feel comfortable. There seemed to be a void and no resolution, as if the game was coming to an end, but the message hadn't been sent until Sophie intervened.
That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul.
Sophie quickly put her Taekwondo experience to good use after dropping JC Sheldon with a hard foul with the game already in control. It was therapeutic. Fans of Fever WNBA supporters, fans of Caitlin Clark, who had been fed up with the way Clark has been treated, finally received the pushback they had been demanding. But it was more than just one play. It wasn't just about JCS Sheldon. Sophie seemed to be responding to weeks of disrespect, missed calls, and cheap shots as though she were speaking for all the fans who have witnessed the referees turn a blind eye. It was payback, not simply a foul.
I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating, just like to everybody, because it is, if you are watching any of these games, you are seeing that there is a disparity in the way that it's being officiated, and the Indiana Fever are held to a standard that no other team is held.
This is where things start to get interesting and explains why there is much more to this than just one hard foul. The league seems to have reached a turning point with what transpired against the Sun. Indeed, it's possible that the WNBA will examine its officiating problems in detail and resolve them. Perhaps, however, the absence of repercussions for this extreme face swipe and subsequent body check on the biggest player in the league was excessive.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be correct.
That game has two main outcomes, both of which are enormous. Fans of Caitlin Clark, on the one hand, were already annoyed. For more than a year, the media has disparaged them, claimed they were true basketball fans, and even called them outright deplorable names when they were really packing venues and seeing an increase in viewership. And now that I've seen Caitlin get rat across the face and body checked to the ground with no repercussions, my annoyance has escalated into indignation.
Again, the league's been handed this miracle, this beacon of light, while it was down in some dungeon in the basement on life support, and it was never turned a profit, lost $40 million last year. They get handed this beacon of light, and all these players cannot stand her. They're jealous, the players union, it looks like the whole league.
Many Caitlin Clark followers have come to the point where they sincerely believe the league isn't interested in seeing Caitlin Clark flourish. And something changes when that occurs. Fans begin to support Caitlin Clark's continued dominance, and the league's total collapse in every game without her, because if you're not going to defend her, support her, or even recognize the contributions she makes to your development, why would her fans remain for anything else? It's a horrible dynamic that isolates the league's biggest star, splits the fan base, and hinders long-term development. Then there's this.
So this is a petition to get Sophie Cunningham removed from the WNBA, where she displayed tonight was disgusting.
Now, you may believe that this is merely internet chatter or a pointless small petition. And while Sophie's big clapback is hilarious, I'll get to it in a moment. But first, let's discuss what's really going on. Not only are there trolls, but there are also members of the fandom who are going utterly crazy. They want the WNBA to move the All-Star game from Indianapolis, demand that Sophie be expelled from the league, and even demand that boycotts be used. And when you pause and reflect on only a few months in the past, it becomes even more comical.
The anti-Clark fans, I am seeing them not only celebrate Kiari Fenn in this situation, but say that Sophie Cunningham was at fault for what happened, and she got what she deserved, and saying good job Kiari Fenn.
Haters of Clark were alright when Sophie Cunningham was forcefully knocked to the ground during a preseason game against the Mystics. They not only supported the tackler Kiki Fenn, but they also applauded it, with some of the most vocal people on the internet even calling for more of it.
We are seeing literal people, not threats of violence, but people encouraging violence against a player. And that's not on. That's not on for nothing. There are people literally out there encouraging violence against Sophie Cunningham. And these are the people that want to say another fan base is the worst fan base in the WNBA, and they're encouraging literal violence against players.
This is just my opinion, but it seems like the league and some of its supporters are emotionally unable of coping with Caitlin Clark taking the lead. And that goes beyond just her. It also includes anyone who plays with her, stands up for her, or supports her in court. Simply recall what transpired following the Sky game. When Caitlin fouled Angel Reese, the fans of the Fever players were immediately incensed and began attacking them as well, casting doubt on their character, toughness, and response because they didn't respond in the manner that some had anticipated. There's more to that than simply sports chatter. It seems like being connected to Caitlin Clark in any manner makes you a target. Once more, Caitlin Clark and her teammates are up against the entire world.
The kind of stuff that's being said to them, the stuff that's being said to Kelsey Mitchell, the kind of things that are being said to Natasha Howard are actually wild. People have taken a photo of these women and circled a bullseye on them and have said, it's on site when I see you. Those are actual threats.
And with all that has been building, you now have the ideal scenario for Sophie Cunningham's impending event. She became the enforcer, the one willing to stand up, send a message, and put the league on notice because she didn't just defend Caitlin. Instead, she took on a role that fans had been pleading for. That moment, that viral clip, that energy is already making her a star. Because everything changed in just 48 hours, not only among Fever supporters in Indiana, but also around the entire sports world.
Guys, it's actually insane how viral this has already gone. There's so many NBA accounts who are tweeting it. I was getting ESPN notifications about it. Like, it is wild how much traction.
Sophie's behavior is going viral on social media. Everywhere you turn, YouTube is what people are talking about, and here's why that matters. In addition to being devoted, Caitlin Clark has a huge fan base that much outnumbers that of any other player in the league. They do more than simply observe. They plan, publish, defend, and uplift everyone who rides with Caitlin. Additionally, Sophie didn't merely ride Not Today. She remarked as she stood in front of the train. At a time when fans were clamoring for someone to step up, she stood up for Caitlin Clark on the national stage during a violent, chaotic game. And she's getting rewarded now. After the game, Sophie garnered nearly 600,000 TikTok followers. In just 48 hours, it's more than simply a bump. Sponsors are taking notice. Agents are making calls there. People who were unaware of her name just 48 hours ago are now referring to her as the W's bodyguard, and it's only the beginning.
Sophie Cunningham's jersey has sold out. I repeat, the Sophie Cunningham Fever jersey has sold out.
Her jersey was sold out in a matter of hours. A week ago, fans didn't even know her name, but now they were all in, and Sophie had the ideal response to the petition to have her removed from the league.
They got beat up by the enforcers, but Sophie Cunningham has responded to the petition by just retweeting a freaking post about her jersey being sold out. That is a response. That is quote tweeting the petition. Like that is the best way of going about it.
People ultimately vote with their money and their attention. So this is a clear indication that Sophie Cunningham, who was already well known in WNBA circles, has now formally emerged as a Caitlin Clark fan favorite. Critics frequently claim that Caitlin Clark fans only care about her and don't support the WNBA or even the Fever because of a single player, but that is untrue. They genuinely care about the team that Caitlin plays for, and above all else, they support anyone who stands by her side. It doesn't get any better for her than what Sophie did, though. She took the initiative, she risked her life, delivered a message, and took a harsh foul to protect the league's reputation, and now the supporters are greatly praising her. Now, I don't think this is a passing fad that will fade by the next week. Check out what happens when Sophie Cunningham creates a lifelong friendship with Caitlin Clark fans. Last season, second-round pick Kate Martin, who scored fewer than 3 points per game on average, sold more shirts than the league MVP winner. Why? Because she was a teammate of Caitlin Clark from Iowa. Now that Sophie Cunningham has gone into full enforcer mode, taken a flagrant to send a message, and bonded with her supporters, what do you think is going to happen with her? She will get wealthy.
I wonder how much money Sophie Cunningham is going to make on endorsement deals this season, this summer. Like, I think Sophie Cunningham's endorsement deals are going to go into the millions, are going to be in the millions this year. I think they're going to be in the millions this year. Because if you are not only like good in front, like she's good in front of a camera, she is now known as the Caitlin Clark's enforcer. And like, it's something that matters. It's something that really, really matters.
To begin with, Sophie already had the image of a celebrity. She was working as a TV commentator for the Phoenix Suns as a side gig during her Mercury days, and she was really brilliant at it. She's a naturally charming, laid-back person who can interact with the media, interact with fans, and avoid seeming robotic when reciting quotes. She understands, remember, that she's not only there to fling elbows, she's not a jerk, Sophie is. A baller, she has made wise plays, hit big shots, and demonstrated that she is capable of becoming the seasoned leader the Fever require. Whether it's a fight, a major event, or a media uproar.
For me to come in here knowing what I've been taught, I kind of want to spread it around, especially with how talented this group is. I'm just excited to kind of maybe be that calm piece when it needs to be calm, that feisty, sassy stick up for my teammates when it needs to be that. And so just kind of reading the room and, you know, whatever the team needs that day, being able to